Hi, this is Forrest Price, back with your 100 Mondays. We are now up to number 14, and we're going to be talking about our addiction to sports. All right, let's start off with our addiction prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please help me set aside everything I think I know about myself, my disease, these steps, and especially you, for an open mind and a new experience with myself and my disease. I know in my heart that only you can restore me to sanity. I humbly ask that you remove all twisted thought and addictive behavior from me this day. Heal my spirit and restore in me a clear mind. I've tried to control the uncontrollable for far too long. I ask that you take this burden from me. I acknowledge that my life is unmanageable. I ask for your care and guidance. Grant me honesty, courage, humility, and serenity to face that which keeps me from you and others. I give this life to you to do with as you will. Amen. All right. We're talking about addiction to sports, and I do mean watching sports, not actually playing sports, or because that's actually a lot what I got up. That's actually a bigger addiction, people addicting to exercising and stuff like that. So that will be a future one that I was not aware of, but it is very prevalent. All right. Now, many of us will probably laugh at the idea of being addicted to sports. But for some, it is a sad reality. When sports become the biggest priority in your life, it consumes your time, depletes your money, and ruin relationships. And that's bad. Again, with all the addictions I've covered and the future ones, it's going to be a similar pattern. So, again, I'll start with my story. As far as me in sports, I've had set teams that I've loved since probably pre-teen. Some were just based on the color of their uniforms. Some might have been based on the players at that time, but I have had set teams all my life. I have never changed, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves with people who change because they're not in love with the team, they're in love with the player. Player leaves and they love another player, then all of a sudden they jump on another team. That irks the you know what out of me. Another thing that really irks me is when your team leaves a city and goes to another city. What difference does it make? Your team is still there. I don't have a baseball favorite team. You know why? Because my team no longer exists. Until you know that feeling, you look like you know what to me. You were not in love with that team. You were in love with the city it played in. There's a huge difference. So love your team, but don't be addicted to sports. So at this state, I don't watch anything live. I haven't watched the Super Bowl in over 10 years. And I am the farthest away from being addicted to sports. I will check my phone to check scores, but that's about it. I don't think I could sit through a live show, a sporting event right now. I mean, I'll go to a game, but that's probably as far as it goes. So there it is. So we talked about three things earlier. You know, when someone has a sports addiction to a particular team's success, it gets, if you spend every moment focused on your sports team or watching a game or studying player stats or just online, for hours just watching any updated news, you have a problem. If your team loses and you become depressed and your team doesn't make the playoffs and you just hide around in your house for weeks because of it, there's a problem. I mean, I'm actually the opposite. My team loses. I guess I kind of expected it. Well, most of my teams really suck. So, what's funny? My favorite team, my most successful favorite team right now, is Manchester City. And I hated soccer growing up, but that is my most favorite team right now, and by far the most successful. The rest are pretty much either mediocre or pretty bad. But as far as my experience, what I hated is when teams I truly hate would win. Would win it all, and it was just the most horrible feeling. I wouldn't watch or hear sports for days because I couldn't stand hearing it. So I'm the opposite. So I think a lot of the people are not in reality of how good their team really is, and they take it so personally. Every single act the coach does, or you think he bad fouls or refereeing or whatever, and they take it and it affects their lives, and it's crazy. It's sports. It's not your life. You have a life. This can't be your life. It can be a part of it, but it can't be your life. So, spending all your time at home watching it could be harmful for romantic relationships or even close friendships. I mean, some people might even break up with their girlfriend over something, or they might not even start a relationship because that person's favorite team is a team that you don't like. And to me, that's crazy. If anything, I would probably prefer that. Gives you something to talk about, gives you something to go back and forth about. I mean, it's when you take it to the point where the love of that sports or that team is more important than the person you're trying to be with. It's another sign you have a problem. So, if you're with someone who's like that, get them help. And it also can cause to gambling. We've covered gambling a little bit about that. It's its own addiction, but supporting your team by constantly betting on them, and if you're someone struggling to pay bills and you're sitting there just buying every sports memorabilia or attending game after game, and these games aren't cheap to go to, you have a problem. It's also associated to weight gain and drinking and other things, possibly even drugs. So if you know someone who's having a problem, or you have a family member whose whole life is centered around sports, and they watch it every day and all their free time is there, and they're just hanging out at home, watching, drinking, doing it, get them some help. All right. Next week, we will be talking about why we drive so fast. See you then.